The firing squad was already in position. Snow fell silently over the frozen military base, and a Navy SEAL stood alone, hands tied, waiting for his final moment. The commander asked him one last question. "Do you have a final wish?" The SEAL didn't ask for freedom. He didn't ask for mercy. Instead, he looked up with tired eyes and said just 5 words. "I want to see my K9." At first, the soldiers laughed. But when the dog arrived, something happened that no one in that frozen valley would ever forget. Because that single request sparked a war in the snow. And before the sun set that day, the world would learn the truth about the man they were about to execute. The wind howled across the Arctic outpost as Commander Ethan Cole, a decorated Navy SEAL, stood in chains. Just 6 months earlier, Ethan had been a hero. He had led one of the most dangerous rescue missions in the northern mountains. His team had saved dozens of trapped civilians after an enemy militia attacked a research station. But something had gone terribly wrong. During the mission, Ethan had disobeyed a direct order. Instead of retreating when command demanded it, he stayed behind to rescue a group of scientists trapped under collapsing ice. The rescue succeeded, but several classified military drones were destroyed during the operation. High Command called it sabotage. They said Ethan had compromised national security. And suddenly, the hero became a traitor. No trial broadcast. No chance to explain. Just a quiet execution in the snow. The soldiers standing around the courtyard whispered among themselves. Most of them didn't believe the charges. But orders were orders. Standing beside Ethan was the only partner who had never doubted him. A powerful Belgian Malinois named Rex. For 6 years, Rex had fought beside Ethan in missions across deserts, jungles, and frozen mountains. They had saved each other's lives more times than anyone could count. But Rex had been taken away after Ethan's arrest. The dog had been locked inside the kennel facility, barking day and night. Until this morning. Now the commander of the base stepped forward. "Ethan Cole," he said coldly, "you have one final request." The courtyard fell silent. Ethan's voice was calm. "I want to see Rex." The officers exchanged confused glances. "What difference does it make?" one of them muttered. But the base commander nodded. "Bring the dog." Minutes later, the sound of claws scraping against ice echoed through the yard. A soldier struggled to hold the leash. Rex burst into the courtyard. The moment the dog saw Ethan, he froze. For a second, time seemed to stop. Then Rex howled. Not a bark. Not a growl. A deep, heartbreaking howl that echoed across the mountains. The dog ripped free from the soldier's grip and ran straight toward Ethan. But instead of jumping excitedly, Rex stopped. He circled Ethan slowly. Sniffing the chains, sniffing the soldiers, sniffing the snow. Then suddenly, the dog turned toward the firing squad and began barking furiously. Not at Ethan, at the soldiers, at the commander, at something hidden beneath the snow. The soldiers looked confused. "What's wrong with the dog?" But Rex kept digging wildly in the snow near the execution platform. Then his claws struck something metal. The soldiers pulled it out. A small black device. A military data drive. The commander's face turned pale. Because that device contained something no one expected. The real mission report. And the moment it was opened, everything changed. The soldiers gathered around the small screen connected to the drive. Video footage flickered to life. Helmet camera recordings. From Ethan's final mission. The courtyard fell silent as they watched. The footage showed the research station under attack. Explosions. Gunfire. Civilians running through the snow. Then the camera turned toward Ethan. He was shouting into the radio. "Command, we still have survivors trapped inside." But the voice on the radio responded coldly. "Negative, Cole. Abort the mission. The drones will strike in 30 seconds. Ethan looked back at the burning station. He could hear children crying. Scientists screaming. His voice trembled. "There are civilians still inside." The response came again. Abort. That is an order. The soldiers watching the footage exchanged uneasy looks. Because the next thing Ethan did changed everything. He turned off his radio and ran back into the collapsing building. The footage showed Ethan carrying injured civilians out one by one through smoke and falling ice. Again. And again. And again. Until finally the drones arrived. Missiles tore through the station. The building collapsed. The classified drones were destroyed in the blast. But the civilians were alive. Back in the courtyard, the soldiers stared in shock. Ethan hadn't sabotaged anything. He had saved dozens of innocent people. The commander clenched his fists. Because the next clip revealed the worst truth. The order to abandon the civilians had come from someone in the very command structure standing there. Someone who didn't want witnesses. Someone who tried to erase the evidence. The soldiers slowly turned toward the base commander. His face had gone pale. Snow fell heavier now. Rex stood beside Ethan, growling softly. One soldier stepped forward. "Sir, we were about to execute an innocent man." Another soldier lowered his rifle. Then another. Within seconds, the entire firing squad dropped their weapons. The commander shouted angrily, "You are disobeying orders!" But the soldiers didn't move. Instead, one of them unlocked Ethan's chains. Metal clanged as they fell into the snow. The soldier saluted. "Permission to stand down, Commander Cole." Ethan looked around at the men who had nearly been forced to kill him. Then he knelt beside Rex. The dog wagged his tail, pressing his head against Ethan's chest. For the first time that day, Ethan smiled. But the truth revealed in that courtyard didn't stay buried. Within hours, the footage spread across military channels. Investigations began. Arrests followed. The corruption inside the command structure triggered a massive internal battle. A war within the ranks. And it all started with a dog digging in the snow. Months later, Ethan stood on a quiet hillside overlooking the same frozen base. Beside him sat Rex. Free. Honored. Remembered not as a traitor, but as the man who refused to leave innocent people behind. Ethan scratched Rex behind the ears and looked out across the endless white mountains. "Good boy," he whispered. Because sometimes, the truth doesn't come from powerful leaders. Sometimes, it comes from the loyalty of a dog. If today's story touched your heart, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And remember, even a small act of kindness can change someone's entire life. Red Heart.